Right now on Morning News Now, a Supreme Court showdown over Donald Trump's claims of presidential immunity. Justices divided over the consequences of not acknowledging absolute immunity.
Will that not lead us into a cycle that destabilizes the functioning of our country as a democracy?
If a president sells nuclear secrets to a foreign adversary, is that immune? How about if a president orders the military to stage a coup? That sure sounds bad, doesn't it?
More on the case that could define the future of the American presidency. Plus, a key witness returns to the stand in Donald Trump's historic criminal hush money trial. We have team coverage. Also this morning, shock and outrage across Hollywood and beyond after an appeals court overturns the rape conviction of disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. More on the ruling, plus reaction from his victims. Plus, on-campus chaos. USC's main commencement ceremony canceled one day after a pro-Palestine protest ends with dozens of arrests. This as demonstrations spread from coast to coast. We will bring you the latest. And fix the ticks. This morning, hundreds of artists calling on Congress to put their fans first and end the frustrating process of buying concert tickets. We'll break down the bill that could change Ticketmaster's tactics. I will forever be scarred by the great Ticketmaster meltdown in an attempt to get Taylor Swift tickets.
It's one of the main reasons I still go to box offices in person and save lots of money in the process.
It is true. I'll be like, I'm going downtown to go to the box office and uptown to go home.
Save a lot of money. All right, good to have you with us on this Friday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Happy end of the week. We're going to get started this morning with the ongoing legal troubles facing former President Donald Trump, both here in New York and in Washington, D.C.
Mr. Trump will return to a Manhattan courtroom later today for his criminal hush money trial. Tabloid mogul and first witness David Pecker is expected to take the stand again to face more cross-examination. It comes after the Supreme Court yesterday heard more than 2 hours of arguments about presidential immunity. At issue, whether Mr. Trump should be immune from criminal prosecution in another case, his federal election interference case. Well, the court appeared to distance itself from the idea of absolute immunity. Some of the conservative justices signaled support for some level of protection for the president.
If someone with those kinds of powers, the most powerful person in the world, with the greatest amount of authority, could go into office knowing that there would be no potential penalty for committing crimes, I'm trying to understand what the disincentive is from turning the Oval Office into, the seat of criminal activity in this country.
I mean, the presidents have to make a lot of tough decisions. Did I understand you to say, well, if he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. He's subject to the criminal laws just like anybody else? You don't think he's in a peculiarly precarious position?
We have got a team standing by to discuss both of these legal issues. We are going to get started with our own legal analyst, Danny Savelos, right here in studio with us. Danny, good morning. Thanks, as always, for joining us. So obviously, we just played quite a bit of this here for our viewers. Walk us through the arguments yesterday and what you took away from it.
So complicated, but I'm trying to boil it down. And really what yesterday was about was concessions. Concessions and doomsday hypotheticals. On the concession side, the Trump team concedes that a president can be prosecuted, a former president can be prosecuted. Of course, they've always argued this impeachment judgment if he's convicted. But it wasn't a new concession, but what they pointed out is that if it's purely private conduct, an ex-president can be prosecuted. And then on the government side, some concessions as well, although not as easily. The government appeared to concede that in the case where the president is engaged in core presidential executive functions, he may be immune, and they didn't use the word immune, but he may not be prosecutable after he leaves the presidency. So the Supreme Court is left having to draw lines, which are going to be very difficult lines to draw, and they may try to avoid drawing too many lines if they can.
Let's talk about some of that line drawing. What are the possible scenarios here?
One possible scenario is that they could send the case back to the district court for a fact-finding hearing or an evidentiary hearing on whether or not, or to what degree the allegations in the indictment allege official conduct or private conduct. And what a mess that will make, because if nothing else, it will delay these proceedings further and likely into smack dab into the presidential election. The other thing the Supreme Court can do is really have to draw a line and decide when can former presidents be prosecuted for conduct they undertook while in the presidency. You see, in this case, you have what we call bad facts. You have an unusual situation where you have a president who pretty clearly was operating in his own self-interest, but as the president, talking to DOJ lawyers, doing other things that are arguably presidential. So the Supreme Court can't just cabinet itself to these facts. They have to think for the future. And the Supreme Court justices expressed that several times yesterday. Look, we're making a decision for the ages. So they have some really, really difficult choices to make.
So sounds like best guess on timeline and how this impacts the election?
This timeline question, I get it every time, Savannah. And the answer is, especially in federal court, it's when they're good and ready. Although I have to say that justices didn't appear to be in a huge hurry yesterday. We know they can move quickly. Bush v. Gore, they moved in a matter of days. So it's unclear from oral argument yesterday whether or not they consider this a priority to get out in a week or so, or something that can wait several weeks, maybe even months.
All right, Danny, you are going to stick around for our next story. Thanks so much for kicking us off.
Here in New York, Trump's hush money trial continues today with the cross-examination of a key witness.
Yeah, former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker has been on the stand all week as the first witness called by prosecutors. Pecker has been testifying about his role in alleged hush money payments made to Stormy Daniels, as well as former Playboy model Karen McDougal. Trump discussed the testimony heard in court when the proceedings adjourned for the day.
This room, you saw what went on. It was breathtaking and amazing testimony. This is a trial that should have never happened. This is a case that should have never been filed. And it was really an incredible day. Open your eyes. And we can't let this continue to happen to our country.
Now, we're still waiting on a ruling from the judge over alleged gag order violations by the former president over his postings on social media. Now a new hearing is set to take place next week about more potential violations, including when Mr. Trump met with construction workers yesterday in Midtown Manhattan, which you see here, and directed one of his comments at David Pecker. For the latest on the trial, we're joined by NBC News correspondent Rahima Ellis, who is outside the Lower Manhattan Courthouse, and Danny Ceballos remains with us. Rahima, let's start with you. Walk us through some of the new testimony we heard yesterday from David Pecker about his relationship with Trump and these alleged hush money arrangements.
Yeah, one of the things that was really critical to this is that David Pecker made it very clear that he was having conversations with Trump, and often it would be through Michael Cohen, and particularly when we're talking about money and catch and kill deals. He said that Michael Cohen was only authorized to do what Donald Trump instructed him to do in terms of making payments. In fact, Pecker said when he and Michael Cohen went out to lunch, Cohen couldn't even pay for the lunch because it hadn't been authorized by Donald Trump. So when it came to a question of whether or not they were going to pay Stormy Daniels after they had already been alleged payments to Karen McDougal, a Playboy model, as well as to a doorman for a story about Donald Trump, which turned out to be a false story, David Pecker was a little bit reluctant to go ahead, saying that he did not want his paper to be associated with a porn star. And he said Michael Cohen should go ahead and make that payment. Cohen was reluctant to do that. He eventually did. Both of them made very clear that the money that they would be paying to Stormy Daniels, David Pecker said on the stand that he knew that it was illegal. He knew that it was illegal. It later came out that in 2018, he said they got a letter from the Federal Elections Commission, and the suggestion is it was questioning how that money was paid. All of this seems very central to the case that the prosecution is presenting about the money being paid to Stormy Daniels, how it was being paid. And Pecker said that Donald Trump was more interested in keeping the story about Stormy Daniels quiet so that it wouldn't interfere with the election, more so than he was concerned about his family finding out. Joe and Savannah?
So with all that background information, all these revelations so far, Danny, what's standing out to you, both in this direct testimony, but then this little bit of cross-examination we're starting to see?
David Pecker may be the people's star witness. Of course, he's been the only witness so far, but that doesn't mean that he might not be the most effective. First, they called him first, so they feel confident that he's going to be a compelling witness. Second, he's endlessly interesting. Who hasn't been fascinated by this look, this glimpse into the world of tabloid journalism? It's fascinating the way they buy stories. I'm riveted, and when juries are riveted, they're listening and they're buying the story. And that's part three, is the story that they're telling. They're telling a story. And another thing I think juries like, too, is like a Keystone Cops gang that couldn't shoot straight, screw-up type story, which is, at the end of this, it's going to show that David Pecker had this catch-and-kill arrangement. He did it for Donald Trump. He got stiffed on payment, and that may have led to Michael Cohen having to engineer the Stormy Daniels payment himself, which brings us to this case. So juries love stories like this. The people have done a good job telling this story through David Pecker. And on cross-examination, he's a difficult witness to cross-examine. All the regular areas, you challenge his memory, you challenge his motive, because he's here as part of an immunity deal, so he has something to gain. And then you try to establish that this relationship existed far and long before the election, so you diffuse the idea that it's related to campaign contributions.
And you have the extra drama surrounding this entire trial, which is these gag order violations alleged by the prosecution. We heard more of this yesterday, another hearing set for next week. Rahima, what are the concerns prosecutors are addressing now to the judge?
Well, they presented yesterday, before the jurors came into the courtroom, they alleged that Donald Trump made 4 more violations of this gag order. That's 4 on top of the 10 that they had spoken about earlier. And they said, for example, in an interview with a television station earlier in the week, Donald Trump said something to the effect he called Michael Cohen a liar. Well, according to the gag order, Donald Trump is banned from saying things that are attacking potential witnesses in this trial. So the prosecution is saying this is a clear violation as far as they're concerned, and they want Donald Trump to be fined at least $1,000 per violation. They're not calling for incarceration, but they're saying he should be fined. The judge is taking it under advisement, as you mentioned earlier.
Danny, this new hearing will take place without the jury present. What can we expect there? What are you looking out for?
Same as the old hearing. We've already had a gag order hearing in this case, and it sounds like we're just going to have them every week. And the judge might just set them for, okay, every Tuesday we'll deal with whatever the last week's gag order violations are. And the judge hasn't ruled on the last gag order hearing. And I think part of the reason why is that all gag orders are constitutionally suspect. There is no such thing as an easy gag order. Unlike other areas of the law, if you gave me 10 different judges and asked them to compose a gag order to the facts of this case, I think you'd get 10 totally different orders and totally different decisions on these hearings. That's because gag orders implicate constitutional concerns that are all crashing together. The First Amendment, the right of the public to a fair trial, and the duty of the judge to protect victims, witnesses, and parties. And so this is a really complicated issue for the judge. I'm not surprised it's taken a while, but he's got to make a decision because it's an ongoing problem. And of course, Trump, strategically, maybe he's doing probably I don't want to say the best, but I don't know, clever thing in that he's just doubling down to create an atmosphere where, hey, this is just going to be going on, judge. Either deal with it or throw me in jail. I can't believe he would test the court like that. But looks like that's what he's doing.
All right. Danny, you are released. Rahima, thank you so much for your reporting, as always.
Well, first chunk of the show with us. We appreciate it. Staying in New York, an appeals court has overturned the rape and sexual assault conviction of disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. The shocking reversal comes more than 4 years after the verdict against him in what was a landmark case for the Me Too movement.
In his appeal, Weinstein argued that 3 women whose allegations against him were not included in the charges should have never been allowed to testify. NBC News senior national correspondent, News Daily anchor Kate Snow explains how we got here and how the accusers are responding.
For the more than 100 accusers of Harvey Weinstein, it was a shock.
This today is an act of institutional betrayal.
In a 4-3 decision, the New York Court of Appeals finding Weinstein is entitled to a new trial. His spokesperson speaking to NBC's Chloe Malas.
What he did might have been insensitive, might have been unethical, but it wasn't a crime. And in order for them to bring it back, they're going to have to find witnesses to come forward with actual crimes.
Weinstein was charged with crimes in New York involving 3 women and convicted in 2020 of rape and sexual assault. But that trial also included testimony from 3 other women who made allegations that never led to charges. The majority in the Court of Appeals concluding the trial court made egregious errors, erroneously admitting that testimony, calling it unnecessary.
the jury was able to look at that and probably infer that he was guilty in the past, so he must be guilty now.
And that's what this higher court said can't be allowed.
That's right.
The state court of appeals also said the trial court abused its discretion when it said Weinstein could be cross-examined about those other 3 women.
And even if he denied them, just the fact of being accused of them could allow the jury to infer his guilt based on prior behavior.
He then decided not to testify. One of those women was Dawn Dunning. She said, "People have asked me if I regret having testified. Was this all for naught? And my answer is a resounding no." We spoke with other Weinstein accusers not involved in the trial.
All of the fear and the panic and the confusion from the original trauma comes back.
I'm deeply concerned. It's a setback for justice for survivors.
In a dissenting opinion, 3 justices wrote, "Men who serially sexually exploit their power over women will reap the benefit of today's decision."
We've already heard this refrain about Me Too has gone too far. And I think that there's going to be some people out there thinking, oh, good. So now we've redressed the balance. And I don't think Me Too ever went far enough.
Our thanks to Kate Snow for that report. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas sat in that trial every day here in New York City. She was also there yesterday when this came down. She joins us on set for more. Chloe, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. So tell us, I understand that you also spoke with Weinstein's spokesperson. What did you hear? What did you see yesterday?
I mean, the first questions I really had were, had you spoken to Harvey Weinstein? What was his reaction to all of this? And he said, look, Harvey Weinstein is cautiously optimistic because we have this legal case, this conviction in California where he has 16 years that he will eventually at some point serve. And, they are hoping to get him medical treatment. They say that he has a lot of medical issues and that they're going to be awaiting to see if the DA really decides to retry this again. They have expressed that the Mullineaux witnesses are what prevented Harvey Weinstein from taking the stand in his criminal trial. That was one of the questions that many of us had as we covered that trial. Why are we not hearing from Harvey Weinstein himself until at the very end when he spoke to the judge before he was sentenced? So I think it's going to be a very tough mountain to climb for the DA to have to bring all of these witnesses, get these women to retestify, and then some of those witnesses, they can't testify anymore because it's actually timed out. So it's going to be complicated.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So how likely does a retrial seem at this point? And does that mean that women will have to testify again?
Yes, I mean, they would have to essentially do this all over again. And as you know, some of these women have said that it took years for them to even prepare for the trial and then all of the time it took to do the trial. I mean, Dawn Dunning was one of the women who spoke out yesterday. She was Jane Doe 3 in this criminal trial, and she said, it took up 2 years of my life. And then there are the individuals who come out and say, and the attorneys that say that this is re-traumatizing and to have to go back on the stand and that it's setting the movement backwards. Look, a lot of good came from the Me Too movement, and a lot of individuals were called out for toxic behavior, and individuals lost their jobs, and other individuals like Harvey Weinstein, they did face, prison time. But when you look at what the opinion is from the court, they say that there just was not enough to convict him on those charges in New York because all of the Mullineaux witnesses, which are the witnesses that took the stand to talk about Harvey being a bad guy, to talk about his previous bad behavior, that did not have anything to do with the specific crimes that he was charged for. And that's why this all fell apart. One of the attorneys I spoke to yesterday who represented Harvey, Duncan Levin, during his criminal trial, he's not his attorney of record anymore. He said this is very reminiscent of what happened with Bill Cosby. Being released due to a technicality. So could we see Harvey Weinstein walk a free man one day? According to his team, that's what they're banking on. That's what they believe. They believe they're going to get California overturned and that one day we will see Harvey Weinstein be a free man. But first, we see what happens in New York.
Yeah, remind us about the Los Angeles conviction. So let's put a pin in New York for a moment, which is what we were just discussing. Where does the situation in California stand for Weinstein, and could we also see that overturned?
So he was found guilty on a few charges in California, and, some say it was a stronger case in California, but they did have Mullineaux witnesses, although they're not called Mullineaux witnesses. They had individuals testify about these previous bad acts to basically try, both prosecutors, both in California and New York, tried to say that this was a pattern of behavior, that Harvey Weinstein was a toxic individual and that he had been doing this for years, that this was like a systematic pattern of abuse, both in his production company, on movie sets, and as an individual. And so he was convicted and will serve 16 years, and it's supposed to be concurrent after the 23 years here in New York, going to California, 16 years. Now, last thing I'll say, if New York decides to not retry him and decides to not do this, then California would presumably extradite him to California to face those 16 years. But again, a lot of questions up in the air. His legal team is also hoping that maybe he can get bond and just have an ankle monitor and be out while this is all being figured out.
Chloe Molas, great reporting. Thank you so much for coming and joining us on this.
All right, waking up here in the Northeast is a little colder than you might expect for the end of April. So let's turn out to your morning news now. Forecast: millions will be impacted by a line of strong storms stretching from Iowa all the way to Texas.
We are back in winter coat weather, for which I don't blame you, Angie Lastman. But tell us what's going on. Good morning.
So kind of you not to blame me. Thank you, guys. Yeah, you know, here's the good news. We're going to see these temperatures rebound. So we are waking up a little cool in some spots across the country. But the biggest concern here going through not just today, but the next couple of days is going to be the severe weather. We saw the potential for it yesterday. Some active weather working through the middle of the country. Today, we already are seeing these thunderstorms lighting up across parts of the Midwest, parts of the plains. And this is kind of the area that we're going to be watching here through the afternoon and into the evening hours tonight. We've already got plenty of thunderstorm watches, warnings, tornado watches in effect across this region. You can see parts of Oklahoma stretching into Texas. That is where we're seeing the most active weather this morning, with the ingredients all there for us to see some of those really strong storms, leading us to the potential for some multiple hazards that we'll watch here later today. Let's plan it out for you, because this is today and tonight. We see these storms across parts of the Midwest, across parts of the plains, but it's Kansas City to Omaha that we're really concerned about for the strongest of those storms. And it looks like the hail will be quite impressive. We could be dealing with tennis ball size hail through the afternoon, evening hours, and some of those strongest storms that do develop. We'll also see the potential for EF2 tornadoes or higher. Those really strong tornadoes are going to be on the docket for us here, stretching from Texas, again, up into parts of the Midwest. And on top of that, those wind gusts anywhere 60, 70 miles per hour or even higher than that. If you're looking for some quieter conditions in this region, unfortunately, tomorrow it's kind of a repeat performance. We see our next system work out of the plains into this same region, and that means that an even bigger area of the country is going to be included in these severe potential here as we get into your Saturday plan. So from the Great Lakes down to, once again, Texas, a good chance that we could see softball size hail. We could likely see some of those stronger tornadoes as well, and the intense damaging wind gusts on the table too for us. This is going to be the area that we'll see the best chance for the larger hail, so 2-inch in diameter or larger guys. And unfortunately, this threat is going to last through the weekend into Sunday. We'll still have a potential for some really robust thunderstorms working through this region, guys.
All right, Angie, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
There's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, worry on Wall Street. New economic data sparking new fears of inflation. We'll break down the numbers and what it means for your bottom line.
Up next, after the break, chaos and controversy as more pro-Palestine protests pop up at colleges all across the country. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Colleges from coast to coast are preparing for another day of protests. Pro-Palestinian encampments are now in place on more than 40 college campuses across the U.S. and in Canada. The timing of these demonstrations, the end of the semester, close to graduation, is forcing schools to make tough choices. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has the latest.
In an unprecedented move, the University of Southern California canceling this year's main commencement ceremony, attended by roughly 65,000 people, citing new safety measures put in place amid protests on campus. The stunning decision coming a day after nearly 100 protesters were arrested for trespassing after a contentious rally where pro-Palestinian demonstrators clashed with police.
Even if they have to cancel every single commencement, that's up to them.
The school's administration had already canceled the graduation speech for their pro-Palestinian valedictorian Asna Tabassum, citing safety concerns. Coast to coast, growing protests on more college campuses over the Israel-Hamas war, from George Washington University to Northeastern to Emory and Atlanta, where police in riot gear clashed with demonstrators. Law enforcement appearing to use zip ties to restrain the protesters, even tasing one person.
And these protests are now spreading here in California as well. Here at UCLA, students have begun gathering, pitching tents in the heart of campus. Many of these students calling on the university to divest from Israel.
These rising tensions igniting a debate about free speech versus hate speech on college campuses. At USC, Professor Brittany Friedman criticizing the university for escalating what she says have been peaceful protests.
You believe these students' First Amendment rights are being violated?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are criticizing a nation state for their actions in war, not criticizing a faith that is very close to me.
But some Jewish students say they feel the demonstrations have crossed a line.
I don't believe that, advocating for the rights of the Palestinian people are inherently anti-Semitic, but some of these chants and some of the ways in which that they attribute and target Jewish students, that is anti-Semitic.
And here at UCLA, these protests here continue to grow. There's now several hundred students camped out here. They put this makeshift barrier up, preventing anyone but the demonstrators from getting inside. They say they plan to stay here until the university meets their demands. Now, as for USC, we've heard from so many disappointed students. The university says they made this decision because they feel it would take too long to process all the thousands of guests given these new security measures. Back to you.
All right, Liz, thank you so much.
Staying with the war in Gaza, Israeli forces are intensifying strikes on the southern city of Rafah ahead of that expected ground invasion.
Yeah, medics on the ground say 6 people were killed yesterday following a series of Israeli airstrikes. It comes as the Israeli military said it was planning to go ahead with the ground assault despite warnings from the U.S. Rafah is home to more than 1.5 million displaced Palestinians who were forced to flee to that city to escape violence in other parts of Gaza.
NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now from Tel Aviv. So, Raf, how close are we to this ground assault, which we've been talking about for so long, and what will this mean for the Palestinians who are sheltering there?
So, Joe, as you said, Israel has been threatening this ground assault on Rafah for months. It has been intensifying its bombing in recent weeks. And in the last week, it has called up more reservists, sending them to Gaza, which does appear to be in preparation for that ground attack. But what we are not seeing so far are the telltale signs that this operation is about to begin. So we are not seeing the Israeli military ordering Palestinian civilians in Rafah to leave. We would expect to see leaflets drop from the sky. We would expect to see messages in Arabic on social media. We'd also expect to see Israeli forces massing around Rafah on the ground. We're not seeing that either. So while Israel says that this is coming, it is possible that this talk, anyway, is intended to add to pressure on Hamas in these ongoing marathon ceasefire negotiations. But the U.S., the UN, and others have warned that an Israeli ground attack on Rafah, where those million Palestinian civilians are sheltering, would be absolutely devastating in terms of the loss of innocent life and the disruption to badly needed humanitarian aid. Guys.
Rafa, earlier this week, we reported on a Palestinian baby girl. She survived when doctors performed an emergency C-section after the pregnant mother, as well as the rest of the family, was killed in an Israeli airstrike in Rafah. We are now learning she has tragically died as well. This is something that you covered. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, Savannah, this is just heartbreak on heartbreak. So there was an Israeli strike in Rafah last weekend. Israel says it was targeting Hamas, but that strike killed a mother, a father, their 3-year-old daughter. And amid all of this tragedy, there did seem to be one note of hope, which is that the couple's unborn child was delivered by emergency C-section at the Kuwaiti hospital. She was rushed to the Emirati hospital, where there is a at least partly functioning neonatal ward. Doctors had her in an incubator there. Her grandmother came, our team was there as her grandmother saw her for the first time through the glass of that incubator. She named her Sabrina Aroa, which is her dead mother's name and the Arabic word for soul. And her grandmother said, "You are my soul," and she pledged to protect this little baby. But Sabrina was born 2 months premature. Her lungs were severely distressed by all of the trauma of that emergency C-section. She died yesterday, and she was buried with the family, the parents, who she never met. Guys.
You know, news like that will have a lot of people wondering, could we see a ceasefire soon? We understand the Israeli cabinet studying a new ceasefire proposal from Egyptian mediators. What are we learning about that?
Yeah, Joe, so these ceasefire talks, they've been stalled for so long. The previous proposal from the mediators had been 6-week ceasefire in exchange for 40 hostages from the so-called humanitarian category. So that's women, children, the elderly, people with severe medical conditions. Hamas has indicated it does not have 40 hostages alive who fit those criteria. So there is a new proposal from the Egyptian mediators that would be for 33 of those hostages. Israel is studying that proposal. There is an Egyptian delegation here. And of course, the families of the hostages, the Palestinian civilians in Gaza, are hoping that their leaders can get to some kind of deal to bring a ceasefire into place and get those hostages home. Guys.
All right. Raf Sanchez in Tel Aviv. Raf, thank you so much.
Let's stay on international news now. In East Africa, heavy rain has caused widespread flooding, killing dozens of people.
NBC's Claudio Lavaga joins us from Venice with that and other world news. Claudio, good morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning. Well, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Venice. The same cannot be said, unfortunately, about Tanzania, where for the past few days, heavy rains have caused severe flooding that have killed at least 155 people, at least according to the prime minister there, and it has affected 200,000 others. Now, Tanzania's neighboring countries in East Africa are also experiencing the heavy rains, with more flooding reported in Kenya, where officials said at least 32 people have also died. Emergency services have rescued people trapped by the flooding, but officials warned those living in low areas to move to higher grounds. And we move to France, where the windmill atop of Paris's famous 19th century Moulin Rouge fell off. The venue's sign was also damaged by the falling blades, bringing down some of the letters. No injuries were reported. The reason for the accident remains unknown, but the venue's management has ruled out any malicious act. And let's end this tour of the world in Lajatico, the hometown of Andrea Bocelli in Tuscany, where in July the singer will celebrate his 30 years in the music business with a 3-day event. He will be joined on stage by other superstars like Ed Sheeran, Shania Twain, John Baptiste, Russell Crowe and Sofia Vergara, among others, and of course other tenors like Placido Domingo and Jose Carreras. In the press release announcing the event, Bocelli said, "As a child, I learned to dream about my future in the enchanted silence of these hills. Then life made that dream happen." And what a dream concert is that going to be? Back to you guys.
You should sing that line that was in the press release. That would be beautiful.
It's just epic sounding. Claudio, thank you so much.
Coming up, a new push to end the frustration of buying concert tickets.
It's a frustration I know all too well. Now, some big artists are calling on Congress to fix the ticks. More on their efforts next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. If you've been frustrated buying concert tickets recently, you're definitely not alone. And the artists want to do something about it, too. More than 250 musicians, big ones, too, like Billie Eilish, Green Day, and Dave Matthews, signed an open letter to Congress calling on lawmakers to support a bill called the Fans First Act. The bill was first introduced in the Senate Commerce Committee back in December.
The goal of the Fans First Act is to improve ticket transparency, strengthen consumer protections, and prevent scalpers and bots from charging exorbitant resale prices. And anger over concert ticket sales reached a fevered pitch back in 2022 when Ticketmaster failed to keep up with the massive demand for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour.
Let's bring in Stephen Parker for more on this. He's the executive director for NEVA, a trade group that represents independent music and comedy venues, as well as festivals. Good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. So your group put together this Fix the Ticks coalition and also organized this letter from artists. This powerful thing, like I said, we're hearing from these huge artists. Tell us what impact you hope that has and why it was important to get those artists together and send this letter now.
Thank you for having me. Artists are the reason that stages exist. We would not have venues and the music industry and this wonderful feeling that music brings to us without those artists. We're grateful that they chose to step up. The biggest threat to fans being able to afford to get into a show or be able to get into a show at all are ticket brokers and predatory resellers that are driving up the cost of tickets and making it almost impossible for some fans to get into shows. This letter and the Fans First Act is meant to address that. And finally, for the first time in our country's history, regulate this sector that's been terrorizing fans for so long.
So what do artists and fans you hope have to gain from legislation like this actually being passed? What would be the benefits?
So the first benefit is that there are ticket brokers that are listing tickets that they don't possess. They're fake tickets. or they're tickets that they quote unquote sell that they never deliver to fans, and fans will spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars to fly to shows, to take an Uber to shows, or to travel to shows and spend a lot of money getting ready for those shows, and then they'll show up at the gate and their ticket won't work. This is not illegal in 48 states. This law would make fake tickets illegal. It would also ban the use of deceptive websites and URLs to trick fans into giving their financial information away to folks that are not selling legitimate tickets.
We should know Live Nation at one point has said in a statement to NBC News that they believe it's critical Congress acts to protect fans and artists from predatory resale practices and have long supported a federal all-in pricing mandate. We look forward to continuing work with policymakers. What do you make of what we're hearing from Ticketmaster? And also, I want to read something that you said. You actually specifically said that predatory ticket resale practices have deeply afflicted live entertainment in the United States. You kind of just explained what some of that looks like, but tell us what it means about how tickets are sold and how that's going to be impacted to events and what fans could see change.
The reality of what we've talked about is the deception is currently legal. The Fans First Act would make it so the deception in the ticketing market is illegal. And we believe that this is going to have several impacts on fans. But the first one is that if there's a disincentive for those bad actors and ticket brokers that would buy up tickets at face value and take that opportunity away from fans, then we believe that this is going to impact ticket prices positively and make it a little bit more affordable for fans to get into shows. And I'll just say, artists set the price of tickets. And if they wanted to set the price of tickets for the exorbitant prices that that these ticket brokers are charging, they would, but they don't. The reason why is because they want to see their fans. They want to see the joy that their music brings to their faces. And ultimately, they're trying to keep those tickets affordable. And ticket brokers are putting a divide between fans and their artists. And this bill is meant to address that.
Stephen Parker, thank you very much for joining us on this. Certainly a talker.
Thank you.
Wildfires in the U.S. cause an estimated $350 billion in damage every year. Firefighters and the resources needed to battle these fires are increasingly being pushed to the limit. NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett traveled to Colorado for a look at some new solutions that could make a difference.
Wildfire season isn't contained to just a few months anymore.
The deadliest wildfire.
Fast-moving wildfire.
Volcano wildfire.
Fiery nightmares.
We're now 24/7 in the wildfire catastrophic mindset.
24/7, any time of year.
Any time of year, anytime, day or night.
Brett Gibson and Greg Schwab are both fire chiefs in Boulder County, Colorado. They've watched what they call a steep upward trend in fire suppression and prevention needs in recent years. What do you attribute that to?
We're getting hotter, drier, and windier. We're having more extreme weather.
Those conditions, unfortunately, creating the perfect recipe for Colorado's largest and most destructive fires in the last 4 years.
Sustained winds over 60 miles an hour for hours at a time. Our host streams become very ineffective about 40 miles an hour. Anything that can put the wind in check certainly has my attention.
Steve Wolf, CEO of Team Wildfire, has caught their attention with what he calls a hurricane on wheels.
What makes this system work is a water. This would allow us to convert any fire truck that normally just squirts water. It flows up into the mist injection chamber, which has 180 microjets all driving water into the center.
And then it just forces
And then the
it out.
jet engine exhaust just pushes it out.
Wolf is a Hollywood special effects coordinator, previously working on films like The Chef. But the idea for this machine sparked while on set of The Firm.
We took technology that had been used to make weather on movie sets and converted that to a mobile platform so that firefighters could control the wind and the rain in the microclimate where they're fighting the fire.
Controlled burns help them train. Wolf showed us how the power of a small jet engine can shoot a mist hundreds of miles per hour, reaching nearly 200 feet away. Is this also what combats all of the wind issues that they face?
That's right.
Because it's going faster.
Right, because you're pushing back with so much force, and because wind that has moisture in it weighs more, you can punch right into the inbound winds.
Efficiency tests found the jet-injected mist system makes the water that's used 6 to 10 times more effective, putting out more fire with less water. Wolf has plans to create a whole fleet of these machines in different sizes, from this UTV to ones 50 times bigger to help fight fires across an array of landscapes. Innovative new tech like this, top of mind across the country for new solutions, like the LA Fire Department's Thermite RS3, a robot used for complex structure fires, and Lockheed Martin's AI technology, used to predict a fire's path and best course of action to fight it.
How important is it that new technology continues to be developed, given how much we're seeing in the changes of climate and the frequency of fires?
We embrace all technologies. We do want to prove them.
This is a very labor-intensive business, and everybody who's on the ground is at risk. Anything that we can do to reduce that, let's try it.
Maura Barrett, NBC News.
Wow, great report. Gives you some hope when you see these really scary fires coming.
Need all the tools we can get.
Exactly. Coming up, Wall Street woes, stocks slide after a new report renews inflation fears across America.
We're going to break down the data and how it could impact you. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. Wall Street is looking to rebound today after the Dow stumbled across the finish line of yesterday's session.
Yeah, markets closed down across the major indices after new economic data showed some of the steam is now coming out of the economy, reinforcing fears that inflation won't be easing up anytime soon.
For more, we're joined by our friend, Investopedia editor-in-chief, Caleb Silver. Caleb, good to have you with us. So let's start with this one. The Commerce Department reported Thursday GDP expanded 1.6% in the first quarter of the year. That number far below what Wall Street was expecting. Tell us more about what we need to know about that.
Yeah, GDP measures really the gross output of the country, and 2/3 of that is really driven by consumer spending. So we had a slowdown in consumer spending, according to this first advance report from the Bureau of Economic Analysis that showed that we stopped spending on big ticket items. Why? Inflation was taking its toll on us, but also consider the fact that the first quarter is a time where a lot of people are paying taxes, so spending does slow. We're not traveling as much for the holiday season, so spending did slow a little bit. That slowed overall gross domestic product, and that has people thinking that potentially we're not in for more inflation, but potentially stagflation, and that is not a 1980s movie with Tom Hanks. That is slowing growth with rising prices.
That was good, Caleb. You got me. Let's talk more about inflation. Yesterday's numbers showed it did, though, accelerate in these first 3 months of the year. We know the Fed likes to hike those interest rates to try to tame higher prices. What are we going to see here? I know we were hoping for a cut, which we haven't seen. What does this mean?
Yeah, well, the Fed meets next week. We're talking about 5 days, 6 hours, and 5 minutes from now, but they're not going to touch interest rates next week, nor are they at the June meeting. They're probably not going to lower interest rates at all, if at all, until maybe July or potentially out into the fall season, because we still have rising prices for food and for shelter, and that is the thing that really drives overall inflation higher. So we're going to get the PCE index at about 8:30 this morning Eastern time. That's the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. It's the last report the Fed will see before it meets next week, and that really measures spending on services and goods. That's where a lot of our spending goes as consumers. That's expected to rise a little bit from the last month, but the Fed wants that closer to like 2%. It's probably going to be higher than 2.5%. We're going to be doing this dance for a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's my next question. Let's look at the numbers. We know inflation's down from the 40-year highs we saw a couple of years ago, and we were in that 9% number. Still, consumer prices are up 3.5% year over year right now. Crystal ball, this is an unfair question, but when do we think the end is in sight? Could prices go even higher than that 3.5%?
Yeah, one of the key drivers of inflation is gas prices and energy prices, and we know those have been higher. They usually get higher as we go into the summer, but absent some bigger issues out of the Middle East, they should stabilize a little bit. If energy prices stabilize, gas prices stabilize, you're going to see overall inflation come down probably by the end of the summer. But this is something we've been waiting for a very long time, and it's been really stubborn. That's the hard place that the Fed is in right now, and it's put consumers in a bind and investors.
All right, Caleb Silver, as always, thank you so much.
Let's stay on your money. Google's parent company Alphabet saw a pretty good start to the year.
CNBC's Silvana Henao is here with that and other money news. Silvana, happy Friday.
Hey guys, happy Friday to you. Yeah, so shares of Alphabet are popping. Quarterly results beating forecasts on just about every metric. Earnings, revenue, cloud. digital ads, YouTube, even as Alphabet continues its expensive push into AI. Google's core search business picking up again after a difficult time the past 2 years when brands cut back spending as they dealt with rising interest rates and inflation. Meanwhile, the NBA is pushing towards a series of major media deals with Amazon and YouTube TV competing for a new streaming package. The Wall Street Journal reports NBC Universal is also trying to grab some of the games currently broadcast by Disney's ESPN, ABC, and Warner Brothers Discovery's TNT. The NBA's new media rights packages kick in after the 2024-2025 season. Disney and Warner are in talks to pay substantially more but air fewer games than they do now. NBC Universal is looking to get some regular season and playoff games to air on NBC and Peacock, and rights to share the NBA Finals with ABC. And guys, get this. Spooky season is already here. But at least at Home Depot, the retailer has kicked off a halfway to Halloween sale about 2 months earlier than it started selling merchandise last year. The lineup includes Skelly. That's a 12-foot skeleton decoration that costs $299 and has become a viral sensation. This year, Skelly has several different settings to allow it to move its eyes and blink. You can find the Halloween items online at HomeDepot.com, and the chain says it will continue restocking the products in limited quantities throughout the next few months. So happy Halloween.
Yeah. I know a lot of friends in California who went to many Home Depots to try to track that thing down.
Now, if people put Skelly
there
up,
it is.
If people put Skelly up this weekend, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Halfway to
please
Halloween.
no.
This is not a thing. It's funny. Silvana, thank you so much.
You got it.
Coming up, you could call him a bare necessity. As predicted, USC star QB Caleb Williams selected by the Chicago Bears as the #1 pick in the NFL draft. We're going to have more on last night's historic first-round picks.
Plus, a famous prop boldly going where it has been before. How Star Trek's Starship Enterprise made its way back home after mysteriously disappearing 5 decades ago. Don't go away, but do live long and prosper. You're watching Morning News Now.
Welcome back. It has been called one of the most stacked draft classes in years, and this morning, football's top prospects are officially heading to the NFL. Thousands and thousands of fans packed the stands in Detroit last night for the first round of the NFL draft. As expected, Caleb Williams was tapped first overall. He's going to head to Chicago with the Bears. Fellow quarterbacks Jaden Daniels and Drake May were taken off the board as the 2nd and 3rd picks, respectively. Now, the first round is now in the books. The drama is just heating up. Rounds 2 and 3 are scheduled for tonight. Fans are chomping at the bit for some major moves. It is worth noting Tom Brady, remember, was not drafted until the 6th round, so even if you think your team stumbled a bit last night, there's still plenty of draft left.
And the outfits didn't disappoint.
And they're good clothes.
Finally this hour, it's been a mystery. For 5 decades, the Starship Enterprise model used in the opening credits of the original Star Trek disappeared back in the 70s, but now it is back. NBC News correspondent and apparently self-proclaimed Trekkie Stephen Romo explains how this sci-fi mystery was finally solved.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
When this grainy Star Trek intro first boldly aired on NBC back in 1966, few could have predicted what a cultural juggernaut this sci-fi series would become. But one iconic piece of the show's legacy went missing in the 1970s.
Fascinating.
The original 3-foot model of the USS Enterprise, seen here in the show's credits, vanished. Its mysterious disappearance almost worthy of a Star Trek plot itself.
I have vague recollections of it being on my father's desk.
Rod Roddenberry, CEO of Roddenberry Entertainment and son of late Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry, says the model is priceless.
This is not one of 3. This is not one of 2. This is the one original Enterprise model that was made.
Star Trek. The motion picture.
He says it went missing after his father lent it to the makers of 1979's Star Trek The Motion Picture. But then last fall, a plot twist.
Risk is our business.
The model turned up online for sale on eBay with a starting bid of $1,000, causing quite a stir among fans, but at the very least, clearing up rumors that Rod was to blame for the disappearing Starship.
You may have heard about this, of me throwing some sort of model in the pool when I was a kid, which I emphatically denied.
You're vindicated.
I am vindicated.
After the eBay listing got a ton of attention, the sellers took it down, saying they'd found the Enterprise model in a storage building. They then contacted Heritage Auction House, which authenticated it.
I decided it was important to give sort of call it a finder's fee, a reward.
Some might wonder, after all this time and all these versions of Star Trek, why this discovery feels so important.
Star Trek, I really feel like, changed my life. Started watching it as a 4-year-old. Does it surprise you that people would care about this almost 60-year-old model?
If Star Trek wasn't a show about optimism and talking about a future where we all work together, I don't know if I'd be working on it.
Rod, who serves as executive producer for new Star Trek series in production, is now working to find a public place to display the ship, so Trekkies can see in person the Enterprise that first took us where no one has gone before. Stephen Romo, NBC News.
Welcome home, Enterprise. That'll do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now. Good morning, and let's start with great news. It's Friday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, a legal split screen facing former President Trump as ex-tabloid publisher David Pecker dives deeper into that alleged catch-and-kill scheme here in New York. In Washington, the Supreme Court weighs if Mr. Trump should be immune from being charged for crimes he allegedly committed during his time at the White House. How are the justices leaning? We're going to cover it all in just a moment. Also this morning, the furious fallout after that shocking New York court decision to throw out Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein's rape conviction from 2020. Reactions now pouring in from his accusers and from the entertainment world. Plus, the wild alleged revenge plot that's rocking a Baltimore high school and gaining national attention. How police say one school official used AI to smear the school's principal, and the disturbing audio tape you do have to hear to believe. And draft dreams coming true as the NFL taps its first round of brand new players in Motor City. We're in the middle of all the drama, the excitement, and the celebrations later in the hour. Good to have you with us on this Friday. We're going to begin this hour with former President Donald Trump back in a New York courtroom today for his criminal hush money trial.
It comes a day after the Supreme Court heard arguments about whether the former president should be immune from criminal prosecution in his federal election interference case. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has the latest.
Good morning. We don't know exactly how the court will rule when it comes to Mr. Trump's case in Washington or when, but one thing the justices are in total agreement on is how they answer this question of whether the former president is immune from prosecution or not has huge implications. As one justice said Thursday, we are writing a rule for the ages.
This morning, the criminal case against Donald Trump for trying to reverse the last election on the rocks. The government aiming to show Mr. Trump cannot be immune from federal charges for his actions leading up to January 6 simply because he was still president at the time. The conservative justices skeptical presidents don't need some protection.
Presidents have to make a lot of tough decisions. He's subject to the criminal laws just like anybody else.
But still, the justices were mostly unpersuaded that Mr. Trump should be completely immune.
I'm trying to understand what the disincentive is from turning the Oval Office into, the seat of criminal activity in this country.
Pressing his lawyer.
If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
Special counsel Jack Smith brought conspiracy and obstruction charges against Mr. Trump last year, but the case has been bogged down in appeals. The special counsel's office telling the justices that the former president's argument would lead to dark consequences.
His novel theory would immunize former presidents for criminal liability for bribery, treason, sedition, murder, and here conspiring to use fraud to overturn the results of an election.
The ultimate result in the case likely turning on the line between actions taken for personal gain and a president's official duties.
If you don't have immunity, you're not going to do anything. You're going to become a ceremonial president. You're not going to take any of the risks, both good and bad.
None of this stopping Mr. Trump's current trial in Manhattan. Tabloid mogul David Pecker expected back on the stand today after telling the jury Thursday how his company purchased the story of Karen McDougal, another woman who alleged an affair with Mr. Trump, which he denies, ahead of the 2016 election, admitting, "I wanted to protect my company, I wanted to protect myself, and I wanted also to protect Donald Trump." Pecker testifying that while in the White House, Mr. Trump asked him about McDougal, saying, quote, "How's our girl?" To which Pecker replied, "She was quiet."
Mr. Pecker is expected back on the stand this morning for cross-examination. Back to you guys.
All right, Laura, thank you so much.
Tensions are rising on college campuses across the country with dramatic scenes playing out over the Israel-Hamas war. Several protests have led to arrests and protesters clashing with police. Now schools are taking major safety steps, with some even canceling graduation. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa is outside Columbia University with the latest.
Hey there. Well, there now have been more than 40 protest encampments at schools across the country and in Canada since this one at Columbia. Overnight security here ramping up patrols. I can tell you, you have to have a student ID to even gain access to the campus as tensions flare over the war in the Middle East. And remember, with graduation fast approaching. From New York to California, free Palestine, and Illinois to D.C., demonstrations over the violence in the Middle East are spreading across more college campuses just ahead of graduation as tensions flare and arrests soar into the hundreds. Let them go! Let them go! At Emory University, heavily armed officers deployed pepper balls to break up protesters who police say threw bottles, even tasing one person resisting arrest. Faculty members joining the protests.
Can you call the philosophy department office and tell them I've been arrested?
And more confrontations between protesters and police at Ohio State. After chaotic clashes at the University of Southern California, the school canceling its main commencement ceremony just 2 weeks away.
I don't understand. Specifically, why are we afraid?
The university says it won't have time to process the estimated 65,000 guests with its new safety measures in place. The unprecedented move comes after USC already nixed the graduation speech of its pro-Palestinian valedictorian due to safety concerns.
Even if they have to cancel every single commencement, that's up to them.
But what protesters are defending as free speech, some Jewish students call hate speech.
Freedom of speech is very important, and I'm very for that. But I think there is a point where the university itself has a duty to protect all of its students, including the Jewish ones.
And overnight at the epicenter of the pro-Palestinian demonstrations, Columbia University ramping up security as counter-protests from outside groups marched near campus, demonstrators clashing on campus.
You guys be sent back to your...
The clock is ticking on negotiations with students on site of the encampment, though with no clear deadline from the university.
I'm absolutely worried what happens if the university brings in the NYPD. I think it's going to change the university forever.
And it appears Columbia University is still preparing to hold its graduation, scheduled to happen in less than 3 weeks. Walking around campus, you'll see stacks of chairs, there are bleachers and signs, but many of the students I've heard from are doubtful it will actually happen. A sore point for some. Remember, part of a class that graduated high school 4 years ago in 2020. That graduation canceled by the pandemic. Back to you.
All right, Emily, thank you.
NBC News correspondent Guad Vanegas now joins us from the University of Texas in Austin with the latest there this morning. Guad, good to see you. So professors and students staged another walkout and protest yesterday. What is the latest on that? Where are things standing this morning?
Savannah, things were different yesterday from what we saw the day before, right? So the biggest difference was that we didn't have the state troopers here. So there was a lot of critique towards the university, towards the president, because they brought in the state troopers during that first big walkout. And then yesterday, students returned because they felt like they had to not only protest for what they believed in, most of the students protesting in favor of Palestine, but also for the right to be able to protest on campus. Here's part of the conversations that we had with students who were here yesterday.
It was really disheartening to know that our campus, called DPS on us. It really felt like we were kind of getting sold out, knowing historically, again, that these same organizers have organized these protests. Nothing has gone wrong.
The university put out a statement saying what is allowed and what is not, and the other group, decided that they were going to go against what the university policy said, and that's what went wrong.
That second student making reference to the statement that was shared by the university before that first walkout, asking the group not to organize that protest. The group, of course, moved forward with that first walkout, and that's when the police was called in. But one of the things that students were very upset about was the way they came in on horses with riot gear and what happened, of course, on that first day. Now, yesterday, we had groups, as I mentioned, in support of Palestine and Israel protesting right next to each other with campus police observing nearby but maintaining distance, and the state troopers did not arrive. That was one of the biggest differences. We saw the crowd arrive. The protesters were on campus for a few hours, and that organized protest dispersed with many students in support of Palestine staying here into the night, having a conversation. So things here were just completely different without that chaos and that standoff that we saw on the first day of the walkout.
So, Guad, I know some students and faculty members have been calling for the university president, Jay Hartzell, to resign over his handling of the protests when more than 50 people were arrested Wednesday. What's he saying in response?
Right. So the president shared another statement yesterday indicating that he brought in the state troopers or made the decision to react the way he did because the university had clear indication that the protesters were following patterns they've seen in other places. But as I spoke with members of the faculty yesterday, a lot of them are asking questions. They want to know what it was that the protesters did that violated the university's rules. There was also an internal email sent by the faculty council to all members of the faculty in which they voiced their concern for the university because of the university making that decision to bring in the state troopers during that first walkout. So moving forward, there's going to be a lot of dialogue between the faculty and school administrators as to why they brought in the state troopers. Meanwhile, the organizers have been focusing a lot of their attention also protesting outside of the jail, where many of the people who were arrested on that first walkout were already released. A lot of them had the charges dropped. In fact, some of them were released from the jail yesterday and came straight to campus to protest again.
All right, Guad Venegas, thank you very much for your reporting here.
Now to New York, where the state's top court made the shocking decision to overturn Harvey Weinstein's 2020 conviction on felony sex crime charges. The appeals court says it found serious flaws in the Hollywood mogul's trial, which was a milestone in the Me Too movement. NBC News Now anchor Kate Snow joins us with more on the reasons behind that ruling and the impact it could have. Kate, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. The fact that the justices on New York's Court of Appeals were split 4-3 on this decision tells you they were really divided. But the majority said its decision was grounded on bedrock principles of evidence and the defendant's constitutional right to the presumption of innocence and a fair trial. For years, Weinstein's attorneys have argued that the trial court in New York should not have let women who weren't directly involved in the charges at hand testify. The appeals court essentially agreed and said the only remedy now would be a new trial.
For the more than 100 accusers of Harvey Weinstein, the New York Appeals Court decision to overturn his conviction hit hard.
My first reaction was a total visceral one. Our hands were shaking so much.
Actor Ashley Judd, who publicly accused Weinstein of sexually harassing her, speaking out.
This today is an act of institutional betrayal.
Weinstein was charged with crimes in New York involving 3 women and convicted in 2020 of rape and sexual assault. But that trial also included testimony from 3 other women who made allegations that never led to charges. In the 4-3 decision, a majority of the Court of Appeals concluding the trial court made egregious errors, erroneously admitting that testimony, calling it unnecessary. Dawn Dunning was one of the 3 other women. She says she doesn't regret testifying. I am a stronger person for having done so. I urge the district attorney to retry this case.
And on your left.
Weinstein was once at the top of Hollywood, but in 2017, the New York Times uncovered decades of allegations involving sexual misconduct. When he was arrested back in 2018, Savannah sat down with Oscar-winning actress and Weinstein accuser Mira Sorvino.
How does that feel after everything you've been through?
It's him finally facing real criminal consequences for his criminal behavior. And so for that, I feel gratified.
It was the start of the Me Too movement. Some now worried the overturning of his New York conviction is a major setback.
I definitely worry that that sets a precedent, but we will keep fighting.
Weinstein's attorneys applauded the decision.
You can't throw out 100 years of legal precedent because someone is unpopular.
The Manhattan District Attorney's Office says that they will do everything in their power to retry the case. Weinstein remains at a prison in upstate New York, but will be brought to a facility, we're told, closer to New York City as he awaits the potential of a new trial. Don't forget, Weinstein was convicted of rape and sentenced to 16 years in California. His attorney out there in L.A. says the New York decision will now have a significant impact, they think, on his appeal in California. Joe.
All right, Kate, as always, thank you for your reporting. Let's bring in NBC News Now legal analyst Angela Senadella for more on where things go from here. So yesterday, this decision came down as we were preparing for the Supreme Court arguments yesterday. We've used the word shocking, stunning to describe it. For those in the legal world who've been paying attention to this case, was it shocking?
Okay, so I think it's a bombshell regardless. I understand that lawyers expected this because it was a controversial decision to begin with. But the fact that, as Kate just said, it was a split decision, it was 4-3. There was also a very strong, stinging dissent. Also, the appellate court under it reaffirmed the trial judge's decision. So this is not something that was clear either way. There was nuance, and it came down on the defendant's right, and that's where we are today. But nobody could have predicted this, Joe.
The key to all this, the word we keep hearing is these Malino witnesses. That's something maybe a lot of people don't know. It's used to describe these accusers whose allegations were not directly part of the case. So if we do see a retrial here, would those people be allowed to testify? How would this be handled?
So it's possible they could be allowed to testify, just their testimony would be limited. So in this case, the reason why it wasn't super clear on either side is because you know that evidence can't just be brought in of uncharged crimes. But if that evidence can prove intent or show some sort of pattern or modus operandi, that's when it can be let in. And that's what the trial judge had decided, that because Weinstein said everything was consensual, and in sexual assault cases, it's almost impossible to determine what is consensual and what's not. Weinstein's case was unique. There was such a pattern of alleged behavior, and this is not across the case with sexual assault cases. But you had all of these women claiming that they had gone to his hotel room, been lured, and then assaulted. So that is why this was all brought in. So those allegations of assault would not be allowed to be brought in into the next trial, but perhaps other testimony that could go to prove intent could. So that's going to be a hard decision to make.
Kate mentioned the L.A. conviction and how Weinstein is working to appeal that. Could this decision in New York have any impact on that case in California?
Yes, and here is why. So we know this all unraveled because uncharged crimes were discussed, but the LA case happened after the New York case. So what can legally brought in are past convictions. So in the state of California, the New York conviction was brought in front of the jury, but now that conviction has been overturned. So whether or not that made enough of an impact on the jury to change the outcome of the case is where that appeal will stand. But because the New York conviction was used in the California conviction, the whole thing could be up in the air now.
So a lawyer for Weinstein said this decision was, quote, a tremendous victory for every criminal defendant in the state of New York. What effect could this have on future sexual assault cases here?
So I think this case is much more unique than people realize. It's not that now this is going to just, change the entire landscape of cases or of the legality of it. It's that Weinstein himself had this unusually long history, which other defendants don't necessarily have. And that is why this was brought in. However, I do think that there will be a chilling effect on victims. Victims will feel like, well, look, they speak out. Now, what they spoke out about is literally the reason why the man is being acquitted. So I think that is the biggest problem, but which underscores why if you are a victim, you should try to find other evidence if you can.
Of course, sexual abuse victims already very hesitant to come forward.
Exactly,
in the first place.
Joe.
All right. Angela Cinadella, as always, appreciate your expertise. Thank you so much. Time for weather. Strong storms expected from Iowa to Texas with possible hail and tornadoes going into the weekend. Let's get a closer look at your Morning News Now forecast. Meteorologist Angie Lassman. Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe. We've got a whole lot going on, not just today, but through the weekend with multiple days of severe storms possible. Let's start with what's happening right now because it's been a quite active morning across much of the plains. Moving into the Midwest, we're going to see many of these thunderstorms kind of firing up as the day goes on, but we've already got plenty of watches and warnings in effect where you see this brighter yellow. That's a thunderstorm watch across parts of Texas stretching into Oklahoma. We've got tornado watches in effect for parts of Oklahoma. And of course, we have some of those thunderstorm warnings that have been in effect for the past couple of hours. Starting to see that kind of ramp up is what we're expecting here as we get through our afternoon and even into our evening hours. And here's why. We've got a storm system moving across this region, and it's going to be kind of a couple of relentless afternoons across parts of the plains specifically. Here's where we're watching today, from Texas all the way up into portions of the Midwest, but really the bullseye for the greatest impacts that we could see with those strongest of the storms, Omaha, Kansas City, those are the metro areas that are included in that. It does mean that we could be talking about really large hail, softball size hail, but also the potential for some strong tornadoes, EF2 or higher, that same area, but stretching all the way as far south as Dallas. And that's where we'll see that chance for some of those stronger tornadoes to develop as well. As we look ahead to tomorrow, we've got another storm system that kind of works into parts of the plains. We'll see another round of some really intense storms ramping up, and it's an even bigger area of the country. Some of these spots are the same as what we'll deal with today for the potential, even into tomorrow. Notice Kansas City still dealing with that potential and the high potential for us to see some of those stronger storms stretching into Texas once again. But this is going to extend all the way out into parts of the Great Lakes. So the hail, softball size hail at that, plus the tornadoes and the strong wind gusts, 60, 70 miles per hour, are all possibilities. This is the area that we're watching for the greatest potential of that hail, something that you'll want to watch as we get into the afternoon and evening hours tomorrow. And then, unfortunately, if you're looking for some quieter weather across parts of the plains, we're not going to get it by Sunday either. We've still got the potential to see some of those stronger storms. And on top of that, some really heavy rain that we'll have to deal with. This is something that we'll see all the hazards on the table for us here as we get into Sunday, maybe a couple of tornadoes, but the wind gusts and the large hail going to be possible. And I mentioned that heavy rain. It looks like the heaviest of it will be centered across parts of the southern plains, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. That's where we'll have those repeated rounds of some of the heavy rain and upwards of maybe 2, even 3 inches at that. That means that we'll have that chance for some flash flooding where you see that brighter pink, including Tulsa. That's where we could see, Joe, hourly rainfall rates of 2 to 3 inches. We've got a lot going on in the middle of the country. Out east, much quieter. Out west, much quieter, too. But the middle of the country is where we'll have to watch this weekend.
All right. We know you will be keeping an eye on it. Angie, as always, thank you. Much more to come on this Friday morning, including the couples who are breaking the taboo surrounding male infertility. What can be done to treat the condition? But first, after the break, an emotional traffic stop involving supermodel Gisele Bündchen. We're going to bring you the tearful body cam footage just released by Florida police. Those stories and more next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee says he will sign into law a bill allowing some teachers to carry concealed handguns in the classroom. The governor argues that the recently passed legislation is aimed at keeping children safe in the event of a school shooting. The law requires teachers to go through 40 hours of gun training, a psychological evaluation, and have the approval of both school leaders and police before they can carry those guns. School districts do have the option to participate, and while some have expressed their support, 3 of the biggest districts in Tennessee have already opted out. Turning now to a traffic stop in Florida that is gaining a lot of attention. Body cam video captured supermodel Gisele Bündchen in a moment of vulnerability after being pulled over by police on Wednesday. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us now from Surfside, Florida, with more on what she says was happening in that moment. Sam, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, good morning, and certainly a reminder of our humanity despite celebrity. As you see that emotional reaction, the town of Surfside here, their police department has not filed a report, so it's not clear exactly why she was pulled over in the first place, Joe, but she does tell the officer, look, I was just trying to get away from paparazzi. Then in the minutes that follow, you will see she breaks down, telling him, I just want to live my life.
What do you need? Why are you crying?
I'm so tired. Everywhere I go, I have these guys after me. Nothing protects me.
On a Surfside street, an emotional window into celebrity Gisele Bündchen's regular struggle with paparazzi. Moments earlier Wednesday, an officer approaches a Mercedes SUV, only to hear this when he asks the driver to roll down the windows. Minutes later, Bündchen appears on body camera, apparently explaining her driving.
I'll give you a courtesy today.
Thank you. I was just trying to escape from that guy.
I understand who you are. I know. I'll give you. There's nothing I can do about that.
Then the emotional dam appears to burst.
I can't do nothing. I just want to live my life.
I can't prevent them from doing their job, which is to take pictures.
Bündchen, a world-famous supermodel.
Martin, do it again.
Ex-wife of legendary NFL quarterback Tom Brady, with whom she has 2 children, hasn't spoken frequently about the strains of celebrity and paparazzi hounding her, but she did in the CBS interview in 2015.
I just don't think it's very respectful for people to follow people, and I don't understand how that's right.
Bündchen and Brady purchased properties in Miami and Tampa prior to their divorce when Brady played for the Tampa Bay Bucks. But Gisele recently telling Vogue magazine.
So I just moved to Florida a little over 1.5 years ago, and it feels like Brazil. I love how warm people are. My kids love it too.
Her Miami ranch, apparently a fresh start. She also told People magazine about the attraction of South Florida. I love the sunshine. Wherever the sun is, I feel the happiest always. Adding she feeds off the energy. But this morning, she's fending for herself.
Okay, well then file a report with Miami Beach because it was coming from Miami Beach.
Trying to find some privacy in the area she sought out.
Nothing protects me. I can't do nothing.
And you heard the police officer there say Miami Beach, Miami Beach. We did reach out to the Miami Beach Police Department. They say that there's no record of this happening in their jurisdiction. They say it all happened in Surfside. As for that body camera video, you also see, Joe, at one point the officer walk across the street, go up to the guy in a car that appears to be the paparazzi and tell him, get away from my traffic incident, and forcing him to leave. It's the reason apparently Gisele didn't want to lower her windows in the first place. Joe, back to you.
All right, Sam, thank you so much. Coming up, an alleged revenge plot that you really do have to hear to believe. After the break, how police say one Baltimore school official used AI-generated audio to smear the school's principal. That's next on Morning News Now. We are back with an extraordinary story of alleged revenge at a Baltimore high school. The athletic director was arrested and accused of framing the principal by creating audio of his voice with AI, making offensive comments about Black and Jewish students. NBC's Julia Jester has more on the investigation.
A high school athletic director under arrest for allegedly framing a Baltimore principal with AI-generated audio.
I'm the principal here, me and only me.
Dazon Darian charged with disrupting school activities after investigators say he manipulated Pikesville High School principal Eric Eiswert's voice and spread offensive audio on social media in January. The audio, which sparked widespread outrage, included disparaging remarks about Black and Jewish students and parents, and even mentioned Darian by his nickname.
And don't let me get started on DJ. I'm going to drag his black out of here one way or another.
Take a listen to how similar Eiswert's actual voice.
As student athletes, you have won county, region, and state championships with grace and humility.
Is to the one suspected to be AI generated.
How hard is it to get these students to meet their grade level expectations?
Eiswert denied ever making the comments, and police now confirm the audio was fake.
Some of the telltale things that we saw were the fact there's a bit of a monotone. There's not so much changing in pitch toward the end of sentences.
Charging documents allege the recording contained traces of AI-generated content with human editing after the fact, which added background noises for realism.
Through their investigation, detectives allege Mr. Darian made the recording to retaliate against the principal who had launched an investigation into the potential mishandling of school funds.
Police say the incriminating audio spread online after Darian anonymously emailed it to 2 other teachers. Darian waived his right to an attorney and is being held on bond. He did not respond to NBC's request for comment. Eiswert did not want to comment on ongoing criminal proceedings.
As we continue to embrace emerging technology and its potential for innovation and social good, we must also remain vigilant against those who would abuse it for malicious intent.
Officials say the recording's release had profound repercussions, caused significant disruptions for students and staff, and put Eiswert and his family at significant risk of harm from others. A cautionary tale for both the perpetrators of AI manipulation and the public.
I think what's interesting about this clip is that the person doing it may have been a bit rushed. If this person did a little bit better job, it would have been impossible for anyone's naked ears to tell the difference.
Our thanks to Julia Jester for that report. The athletic director has been charged with disrupting school activities, a charge that local officials say carries a maximum 6-month sentence. Let's get to some financial headlines now, starting with what Capital One CEO is saying about consumer debt. CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other money news. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. Yes, so Capital One says smaller and later tax refunds are weighing on consumers. On the company's earnings call last night, Capital One CEO says late credit card payments and defaults were somewhat worse than expected in the first quarter, and he chalks that up to the tax refund effect. Refunds generally lead to improvements in late payments as consumers have more cash on hand to pay bills. A former top executive at Tesla is cashing out. An SEC filing shows Drew Baglino has sold shares of the electric vehicle maker worth about $181 million. He resigned earlier this month after Tesla announced it would lay off 10% of its global workforce. Baglino had been at the company for 2 decades, starting as an engineer. He had been seen as a right-hand man to CEO Elon Musk. And a few dollars for your pizza delivery guy and a few dollars for you. Domino's launching a new promotion next week called You Tip, We Tip. It rewards customers for tipping $3 or more on a delivery order by giving them a $3 coupon. The discount can be used on another order the following week. You can only get 1 coupon per day, but you can take advantage of the promotion as many days as you'd like, Joe.
That seems like a great idea. I like it.
It really does. I love it.
Yeah, all right. Silvana, thank you so much.
You got it.
More to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including a closer look at the struggles many men face when it comes to infertility. Dylan Beard left his night shift at Walmart in February. His coworkers had no idea he was heading to run the race of his life. In fact, they didn't even know Dylan was a track star. Well, now the 25-year-old may go from the deli line to the starting line at the 2024 Paris Olympics. Today, anchor Craig Melvin has more.
When hurdler Dylan Beard showed up at the Millrose Games in New York City in February, he was not expected to win.
Where are you? I'm to the right of her.
You're not even on the screen. And as Dylan blew past the competition, boom, boom, boom. The announcer didn't even seem to know his name.
Is that Dylan Beard?
Oh, but they know it now.
And indeed, he now is confirmed.
When the flower girl approaches you, you looked a little confused. You were like, are these flowers for me?
Yeah, flowers are for the winner, so I'm still looking for the time, not knowing the results or anything.
25-year-old Dylan Beard has been running over hurdles since he was a teenager in Baltimore, Maryland. His high school hallway at Archbishop Spalding is still filled with his unbroken records. Did you feel the same way that you usually feel before a meet, or did you feel any different?
I think I went in a lot more relaxed, like nothing to lose, a lot to gain.
What he gained was everything. Dylan didn't just win the race, he broke records and became the 3rd fastest hurdler in the world, punching his ticket to the U.S. Olympic track and field trials in June. What did you do, like, after the race?
Flew home, and the next day I was back to weight training, back to practicing, and back to work.
Here's my favorite part of your story. You're training. You've been grinding for years, but you've got a full-time job. You work at Walmart.
Yes, I do.
What do you do at Walmart?
I work in the deli section at Walmart as an associate.
Dylan is what they call an unsponsored athlete. His dream of going to the Olympics is funded only only by his own sheer grit and his weekly paycheck.
Set.
By day, he trains tirelessly at North Carolina State University in Raleigh, North Carolina. His coach, Ruben McCoy, says Dylan is unlike any athlete he's ever worked with.
His work ethic is very much unmatched, and his character speaks very highly of the man who he is.
And by night, he's behind the counter at Walmart slicing deli meat.
Small or large?
Small.
And waiting on customers.
Thank you and have a great day.
You too, thanks.
Hey, what's up, bro?
What's up?
His manager, David Davis, tells us Dylan is one of the most dependable employees they've ever had.
Dylan's work ethic is next level. He provides excellent customer service all the time. He goes above and beyond just like he does on the track.
And just as he did throughout his education, Dylan just completed his master's degree in public health at Howard University, which he hopes to use counseling at-risk youth.
We saw you doing some training, and we saw you working at Walmart as well. It seems as if you take both of them equally serious.
Oh, absolutely.
What drives you?
At the end of the day, my name is attached to what I'm doing. So yes, I'm working at Walmart the deli, but it still represents me, which represents a lot of other people.
Come on, y'all, come on in. We soon learn where Dylan gets that positivity from.
This is my mom.
When his friends and family, even former coaches, track coach?
Yeah, high school track coach, yes.
Oh, my goodness. Heard he was in town, they showed up. They all showed up.
You know all these people?
I know all of them. This is Dad right here.
Nice to meet you. And this is Granddad.
Yep, that's Grandpa.
That's the old man here. You got a big cheer squad here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks love Dylan.
And Dylan would love to take that whole cheer squad with him all the way to Eugene, Oregon for the Olympic trials. But Dylan's squad runs deep.
Thanks to our friends at Walmart, have decided to give you $20,000. We want all these folks to be able to go cheer you on.
Dylan, clearly moved, needed a moment to collect his thoughts.
I'm appreciative, very unexpected, and I'm thankful, very thankful. Thank you.
We're proud of you, man. I'm proud of you.
And now, Dylan will have this team at his side at the Olympic trials when he hopes to join an additional Team USA.
That is so cool. Our thanks to Craig Melvin for that report. You can watch the next chapter of Beard's quest to make Team USA at the U.S. Track and Field Olympic Trials. That's in June, right here on NBC. Got much more morning news now, right after this.
Welcome back. It's National Infertility Awareness Week, and in honor of it, we are shining a light on some of the struggles many families face. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in every 6 people experience infertility in their lifetime. Now, while we often hear more about female infertility, this issue is also one that can have just as much of an impact on men. Here's what I found out.
Maria and Irene Movsesian and Anthony Edwards and Yannick Caldron were both looking to start their own families.
We kind of figured that was just going to happen.
But neither were having any success.
Who did you think was having the so-called problem?
I was 100% sure I didn't have a problem.
And Anthony, what did you think?
I definitely thought it was her.
But that wasn't their story. Dr. Paul Shin is a urologist at Shady Grove Fertility in the D.C. area.
So when we have couples that come in, about 40% of couples have a factor that's primarily on the female side, about 40% primarily on the male side, and there's another 20% where there's a contribution from both.
So about half the time?
Exactly.
A 2020 study found that when a couple tries to get help for infertility, 25% of the time, the man does not undergo any kind of fertility evaluation.
What do you think about that number?
I think that's about right, and it's unfortunate. It just goes back to that cultural bias that this is clearly a female issue or problem.
It took Anthony 3 years before he finally agreed to get tested.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.